Hello, my name is Jennifer, and welcome to my Sims 4 Tiny Living Micro-Family Roof Cottage Speed Build. And I got the idea from someone asking about having a micro build for a family, with a few kids in it. So not just like 2 bedrooms, but more than that. And of course, I had already done a build that was like a container build with a roof, an attic on top. And so I thought I would just expand on that, which you can see that I'm doing here, where I'm adding more roofs than what I had in the first place. But the base 32 grid is in the middle, is exactly the same as my attic or my container with an attic, I should say, which the speed build I will link at the end here. But I added an additional roof off the back, which actually has some living space in it. And then there'll be another side roof that I add, which has additional living space on it. So this here I had to try it's a little different because it's a roof versus I had an overhang in my previous build. And of course I expanded sort of some of the covered outdoor space there. So if you have a Sim who loves the outdoors, they won't think they're inside with that because there is a roof. But it doesn't count towards the 32 tile count that a micro build is because there is no deck underneath it. I do put tiles down for the floor, but I don't actually put a deck itself. And that little space there only has 3 walls, so it's not actually a room, so it does not count either. And that little space that I put there with the 3 walls that attach to the house is going to be the second bathroom, so that you can actually have a toddler in this house, or if you have cats and dogs and you want a dog, you can have a dog because you can bathe the dog in the bathtub, because that small little space, extra bathroom, will have a all-in-one shower bath combo. Usually when I have bigger families, I prefer to have more than 2 bathrooms, but it is a micro build, so I figured 2 bathrooms was gonna have to do for them. And this is just sort of a little back area, which gets expanded a little later because in there I put a laundry. And like the build I did earlier, there are some core packs that you need when you place the build, but there are some additional packs, including laundry and cats and dogs, seasons. I end up using, I think, a sink in here, so that is like the only actual item in the build other than like seasons items. But and there's a rug from university. But the core packs I use, I would say, are once again Base Game, of course, which is in the pack, Parenthood, and Tiny Living. And I say I use enough of seasons things that if you have seasons, it's probably beneficial, but you can get away without it also. And so there's me doing that bathroom. That's the season sink, so you could easily replace it with something else. The toilet is from Tiny Living, and then I realized that I want to put something over the toilet, so I put the window on the other side. And one thing you do have to keep in mind when you're building with roofs is that the color of the roof on the outside is going to be the color of the roof on the inside. So essentially, I just made the whole outside of the house one standard color. I do occasionally have certain parts different colors, but with the roofs and it going inside, it was simpler just to keep it like a plain stucco so that it looked okay inside the house as well as outside the house. And so this again is tile and not actual decking. And I didn't bother trying to raise it up because that would have been really hard to have. Would have been harder to have a foundation with that base in the middle and then stepping into the roof areas that would have been on the ground, I would think, because there's no I didn't even think to try and have a foundation on the house because it definitely works easier just to have it right on the ground. So that's the small kitchen area, and I realized that I can't have it on that one wall because it's a roof. And then what ends up being the dining room in this case, because the living room is in that one area that is off to the left of that roof. So you can see I'm putting a fireplace in here, and I do change the wall. The fireplace is on soon, and of course I can't have a ceiling light in a roof, so I do a lot of wall lights on the walls, which is why part of the reason you have the walls instead of like the roof sort of extends beyond where there are walls sort of defining the space inside, just to make it a little bit. But you can see there's that outside roof wall, which you can put windows in if they're big enough, which obviously if you're gonna have a sim living in there, it has to be big enough to have a window. And I do have cats and dog things in the pack, but in this case it is only things that are needed for cats and dogs, or in this case a cat, because I tend to play with cats quite a lot, and because I find it takes a long time to take dogs for walks. I do find building on the roofs sometimes, and that's not even a roof, that's a wall, but it just tends to be a little more problematic with placing things. So I use, that's one of the table came with a game update. It's a 6-seater table, as you can see, and the chair itself is from Tiny Living. And this kitchen area here, I put the sink in the kitchen, which is the one that small little bathroom there uses as they come out. But because of that, I end up moving that garbage can and the pet food bowl away so that we can have at least one more cupboard or counter for them to work on. Since it is like meant to be for a bigger family, not just like, a parent and 1 or 2 kids. You could have a parent or parents, and I think there ends up being, in the way I furnish it, there ends up being 1, 2, 4 bedrooms, though there is one space that's just a spare space, which you kind of need. Usually I like to have basements, but obviously that's not going to be possible with this type of a build. So yeah, so they're kind of stuck with the what they have. If you were on a bigger lot, you could have more roof areas and make it bigger, but I didn't want it to be all the way around because I wanted the core area in the middle to have windows and the door and stuff like that. And there is a door going out, so that ends up being a bedroom with a Murphy bed, but you could make it a full proper bedroom, but I make it more like it could be like a den, so you can have people staying in there and have the Murphy bed, but it's obviously not necessary to have the Murphy bed. I didn't want to put the Murphy bed in the other room because of the fireplace. It would have, not the fireplace was on the one wall, and then on the wall across from it, there was a window, so that would have blocked the window, so it didn't really make sense to be in that space. I do end up switching this around so that the Murphy bed is on the wall on the right-hand side, and then the TV combination unit is across from it, just so that it gives some space that if you have some packs and you want some skill building items, or if you just want to put like a treadmill or something in that room, you can do it, because right now there's quite a big space between the two things there. And so you can see I'm adding some laundry in this little back nook area, but I do make that roof bigger, which I mentioned before, so it gives them more space to work around. This build is completely play tested. I tested everything. The only thing I found didn't work, and I think it's just because the bathrooms are too small, is the Sims couldn't woohoo in either the shower or the bath shower combinations. And I know I've had no problems in other bathrooms, so unless it's just a new glitch. I noticed that in my other build too. And any of my tiny builds. Actually, ever since I've got Tiny Living, I've noticed that, but I've been playing in smaller builds since then, and I haven't tried it in any of the bigger builds. So I'm assuming it's tied into the size of the bathrooms, to be honest. And so this area here ends up being, I get rid of the actual full walls, because one advantage of the half walls, even though they're a tall half wall, is they'll stay up because you have to play with the walls down. It's nice to have some walls up to sort of show the defining area between them. And also, if you want to put anything on them, it's hard to see it. You can't put anything on the walls if they're full walls, because they're always down when the walls are down. So so the half walls are better for that. And plus I put, like I said before, I put a lot of wall lights everywhere, because you can't have ceiling lights because there are no ceilings in roofs. So this is what I envision as being the actual master bedroom of the house on the main floor. And I end up putting a dresser and a desk, though the desk goes where the dresser currently is, and that dresser gets moved to be on the wall underneath the window, or not really on the wall with the window, because I actually moved the window so it's not underneath it. And you get like the desk sitting beside the window, so you get some light. And I do sort of switch between having it on nighttime mode and daytime mode when I'm building. I usually build in daytime mode, but I want to see how bright it was in here at night, so that's why I switched it over to nighttime mode, and then I left it in there for a while, just to like get a feel for the brightness here. And this does have a full kitchen. You can have, if you have seasons and you have to make a grand meal, you can do that. Obviously, if you're playing with a family, you're probably going to want to have birthday cakes, so you need a stove for certain things. The barbecue is good for meals, but not so good for those types of things, grand meals or cakes. So that's why I prefer to have a stove in my Sims house, even if it's a small house. And I end up just making that just a plain color in both these areas up here. I have actually play tested it, like I said, but I'm going to be playing in this house with a different family than I play tested with. I'm going to be playing in it with my Life After Foster Child family. So this house is right now, I placed it and built it in the Brightchester neighborhood, because two of my Sims from there are going to university, one of which is going to Brightchester or U-Bright, and the other one's going to Foxbury Institute. But as long as they're in one of the neighborhoods, that's all I really cared about. So they're going to be further playtesting it, but I'll be editing it for them because they, do get famous things. So I'm going to need to add some get famous items to the house. So, but the version on the gallery is going to be, like I said, have less items in it instead. And I start with this as a exercise space, so it gives you an idea of what you can use it for. But in the end, I realized, well, this is a decent size room. For me, I don't usually tend to have big bedrooms. I usually don't have to have really big houses because I find it takes Sims too long to get around, but this is still a bit small, even for me. I want to put a dollhouse because the family I'm going to be using with this has 2 girls, so I wanted to have a dollhouse, which you can see me starting to put it in there. And those pictures get in the way, so I don't think I end up using any of those pictures in this build anywhere at all, because the walls are it's just a little bit small. It's probably because it's not really the smallest house, especially given it's a micro house. It's a pretty big micro house, so it doesn't really work. So I just put a lot of decor things, and my mate might leave this like this. I haven't really decided, because in some ways the room with the Murphy bed isn't really needed for them, because it's like a couple, a single, Jasmine is single, and then there is 2 kids, and the 2 kids can share the bedroom. So I'll probably just get rid of the Murphy bed altogether, because I find them kind of a nuisance, because as soon as they get a little bit tired, they'll go try sleeping in them, which of course they can kill Sims, though if you upgrade them, they're supposed to be okay. And the Sims that are going to be living here have at least one of them has high, if not maxed handiness skills, so it should be able to be done. So there's that little space with the toilet and the shower. And luckily, the couple of them are spellcasters, so they can scrubberoo themselves and scrubberoo each other, though not the kids, so we do need the showers for them. And where I put that kitty litter container, that ends up moving in the actual build that's going to be on the gallery, because the cat complains and doesn't seem to be able to use it. I couldn't test fully, but she was like, oh, I need to go use a litter box, and it was one there, and when I moved it, she went and used it. So I think the roof was a little bit too close even for the cat, though I think in real life a cat could get in it. The cat is small. The cat should have been able to get into it. So here's my covered garden area. And I am going to have a full, as you can see, playground area, but it does change a little bit in terms of what is in there. The ship is a different footprint to the spaceship. So like that pirate ship is different. So when I decide to add a fence around the yard, it doesn't work with that because it's longer and narrower, whereas the spaceship is a bit shorter and fatter, so it fits better. So, which you might have seen if you looked at the thumbnail, that it wasn't that. It's the spaceship instead. So here is where I add the line for looking after the laundry. And here I'm back to the front yard, or the side yard, I should say, where I'm doing the playground. And I'm getting all the terrain paint on, which is going to change a little bit because, of course, I'm going to get rid of that pirate ship. And when I decide to fence the whole thing in, and then I decide to I don't do this very often. It probably makes a lot of sense to make the garden area dirt because you're not going to garden in grass. So I decided to. And I have island living, so that means by adding the sand to the children's playground area, they can do like build castles and stuff in the sand. Well, honestly, any sim can, not just the kids. But I thought that was sort of nice. And then they have sort of like a hedge over on this side because the original lot in the U-Right area, this is where there's a dorm, like a house dorm over here. And I essentially bulldozed that, changed it to residential lot and put it in for this. It had a hedge around there and whatnot. So I essentially put the hedge back on this side. And I show some of it here, but off camera I decided to extend it so it's fully hedged on the one side of the property and a few more flowers, so it's kind of covered and closed in. But I sort of did that after when I was playing. I'm like, I think it needs some more, so didn't get recorded. But you see a little bit of it here, and I am not using the move objects cheat actually, so that's why you're seeing the red there, because I can't place everything. And I do that because it helps cut down on the clutter. As you can see, we keep going, where can I move that? What can I do? Yeah, because I moved it over. Still didn't work. Anyway, so I try not to have as much clutter so that the lot hopefully moves a bit more smoothly by not having as much stuff. And one way to do that is to not have quite as much landscaping because it still counts as clutter. And I do find sometimes when you're doing the terrain paint, it jumps around on me. And it didn't always used to be like that, but it's been like that for a little while, I have to say. So, and then off camera, when I was playtesting it, I decided that I wanted to enclose that completely because my Sims often have yard sales and I wanted to not have people be able to go in there. So you can kind of see that fence is closed in from the yard, but there's a gate to get in there. So you can see some views of the house all around, including the landscaping and some extra lighting that I put in there. Patchy is off his stand. So the family that's going to be there, they live in the Delso Valley neighborhood with the playground, which is why I wanted to give them a playground because they currently have one. And here's some top-down views. There's that the attic bedroom upstairs, and of course the kids play area upstairs that I have done. And then here's like the whole main floor, which has that small little area there, which is the only part that's considered to be part of the build. And then it expands out you can see all of the little spaces, and so that's the other roof area, the kids' bedroom, which I added more decoration after when I was playtesting it too, which was why I didn't get recorded. But I was kind of trying to do a little bit on the budget, but it ended up being pretty expensive because I didn't want to use cheap beds and stuff because the Sims that are moving in there have a lot of money, so they really didn't have to worry. So here are the details of the lot on the gallery. It is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and it's 87,009 simoleons. The pictures on the gallery will not show all of the rooms because they are in the roof. It does show all the packs that are used, but as I said, the main pack that were used a lot were Parenthood and Tiny Living, of course, for the tiny home residential lot trait, as well as some items in the build. And this is a tier 1 micro home, which means it gets all 6 of these special lot perks. The 2 that are unique to the micro home that the other 2 tiers will not get are Let's All Get Along, all relationship gains are doubled, and Let It Grow, plants grow twice as fast as normal. If you are on the tier 2 tiny home, you will also get to share with the micro perk. You also get the You Got the Touch. Skills increase at double the standard rate, and I have to say this is probably one of my favorite perks. And Cozy Comforts, relax, everything is twice as comfortable as it is generally. And if you have a tier 3 small home, the only 2 of these perks that you get that the other tiers get too are lighten the load. Using less space means using less energy, which means lower bills, and feeling fine all the time. Happy, inspired, and focused baths last twice as long. So if you have Tiny Living, let me know if you've been building with it and if you have a favorite feature of the pack. But that's going to be it for this video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye! This has been Jennifer. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below. I'd love to see them. If you liked the video, please leave a like. And if you'd like to see more videos of challenge, let's plays, tutorials, and occasional speed builds, please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks very much!